He is surrounded by fauns and gnomes with magic mushrooms and laughing Buddhas and owls, wizards, dwarf warriors and Siddhartha and fairies. I would like to speak just a moment about the connection of human beings to fire, and why for all these years we've held fires at festivals, and we're holding a fire right now in our garden. The beautiful Sarah playing some djembe drum, lovely music in the background, and sharing it with all of you. The connection of human beings to fire, it's one of our oldest connections, links into our spirit, hypnotizes us with its beauty and its dance, and yet it can scald us and burn us. It's just like life, so beautiful, so enriching, and yet it burns us and we end up scarred. Who here has lived and not been scarred? Who here has lived and not leapt for joy? Our connection to fire is also in many old stories. The story of this land, the oldest story of fire that I know from this land, is the story of Kayleche, who is seen as the goddess of death, known as the Green Hag of Bear, Blue Annie, and many other names. She tended the first of all fires. It had no heat, it was freezing cold, it would burn you with the coldness of it, and its flames were blue. And she lives way down deep inside of a mountain, in the womb of a huge mountain called the Mountain Mother, and her fire, the oldest of all fires with the blue flame, is called the Old One. And upon, hanging high over the Old One, the oldest of all fires, the blue cold flame fire, is an enormous cauldron, the cauldron of souls, into which everything that has ever lived and died must pass before being reborn. We all return there before we are recycled back into life. She's the goddess of death, Kayleche, but she's also the goddess of new birth. For the Aboriginal people of Australia will tell you there's no such thing as time. Time is just an illusion made by people to turn other people into slaves. But what is real is change. Change is everywhere. The Celts, who spoke of Kayleche and her Old One, the blue flamed fire, and the great cauldron of souls, they also believed that all things were reborn, just as the Buddhists do. Anyway, Kayleche and her blue flame fire with the great cauldron of souls above it, it said, looking into the flames of that fire, she can hear and see, in some cases, all things that are going on in the mortal world wherever there's a fire involved, be it just a single flamed candle, be it a roaring bushfire, or be it a campfire around which people have sat for so many years. The Old One, the fire, with Kayleche listening and seeing. She's not just the goddess of death, she's the goddess of new birth as well. For everything that lives must die, that there must be a place for new living beings to manifest and come along. The Egyptians say that people were formed from great tears of fire from the sun god Ra when the earth was young and Ra was way up there in his solar boat. Each day he'd be reborn as a tiny child and climb up into his boat that he pushed out up into the sky, and he'd look down upon the earth as it was created, the great forests and the mountains and the oceans and the sands of the beaches, and all the amazing creatures starting to be created by the different gods and goddesses who lived there all around him, and he, the great god of the sun. And yet he would rise to his power as a mighty man called Ra, and then he would fade down into an old man called Khepri, Atum the baby and the child, Ra the great strong man, and there was Khepri at the end, old and frail, but every day Nut would open up her thighs, the goddess of the sky, and rebirth Ra the tiny child again as Atum to become Ra, to fade as Khepri, and so it goes on. There is always change, even if there's no such thing as time. This is what many ancient people knew. One day Ra, there on the solar boat, was looking down at the beauty of the earth, and it was said that his tears, they swelled from his eyes. They were tears of joy at the beauty of the earth, and these tears, they fell great balls of fire. You know that expression, they were the teardrops of joy from Ra, the great gods of the sun, at the beauty of the earth. And these great fireballs of tears, they hit upon the earth and they scattered, and when finally the ashes, the last of the flames went out and the ashes stood there, they sprung up, and they were the first of the people. The people were created from the tears of joy at the beauty of the earth shed by the great sun god Ra. You claim that power, people, and fill yourselves with joy and feel the power that you gain from it. There are so many stories of fire, so many more that can be shared, but this is the longest Corona diary I've yet done, so it's time to finish. If you like that, come back for some more. We're here to share, people, that's why we're doing this. We've got the fires, join us if you'd like to. Now we're just going to enjoy it without any technology on. Blessed be.